Well, welcome to another edition of the New England Racing Show. Manchester, New Hampshire, Channel 23. And I'm your host, Bill Sturgis. Well, a lot of racing got washed out this last weekend. Lee was washed out on Friday night. Star washed out on Saturday. We're going to go to Bear Ridge in Vermont and check out some dirt sprint car. But at best, it would have been mud sprint cars. Got up, it was 42 degrees and almost snowing, and they canceled, of course. The only other racing that went on this last weekend was at Hudson Speedway. We went up there yesterday for a special Memorial Day show, and it was pretty interesting. I hadn't been to Hudson in about 25 years, and we went, and it was, I guess you'd call it lower budget racing, where it was stock car racing, and they had some modifieds there, 6-cylinder modifieds, which were pretty nice. So we have some film of that, the Victory Lane celebration of that, right here. The winner was Bruce Harrison, right there with a checkered flag.
Yeah, buddy.
And the number 2. Second place was a 3X of Henry Sirignano. Hope I'm saying it right, Henry. And third place was a 37 of Alan River. And we're looking at these cars in Victory Lane. They're really nice cars. It's like just a little smaller version of a NASCAR modified, but very well done, professional. I was impressed. They run 6-cylinder engines, so they're not quite as fast and expensive as the V8s, but they really get into it, and it was interesting to watch. Coming up here is the rookie stock division. Kind of like the rookies at Star Speedway. Hudson is, I believe, a fifth of a mile, a little smaller than Star, or pretty much the same size. It's an old track. I think it was built in the 40s, and there's a lot of development up around it now. But back in those days, it was out in the boonies. They have a figure-8 course in the middle, although they didn't have figure-8 racing there yesterday. This is a restart after a spin out. I don't think he's supposed to be doing that. So he's going off. There's another one going off, minus his door. Believe it or not, this is what Dale Earnhardt and a lot of the Cup stars started racing when they were young. There's a good pass for the lead. The second place car gave him room instead of slamming the door on him, which a lot of people would have done. Then the first two cars end up wrecking. They make them run pretty narrow tires. I think it's 7 or 8 inch tires. So you go into the corner just a little too hard, you're going to have a problem. You end up going high up on the track and people get under you. You can go from first to third pretty quickly. And that's it. So the first place car right there is Jerry LePage. Of course, all the kids like to get in the car afterwards. Second place, the number 8, Roger Tangway. And the third place, number 21, of Chad Wendell. There they are. That's Chad on the left, Jerry in the middle, and Roger on the right. And this is up top in the concession area, the top of the grandstands. You can see it's more like a family picnic type atmosphere than say Lee Speedway or Star Speedway. They have picnic tables up there and the kids play around, and they have an open concession stand. Pretty interesting. Kind of brings you back to the old days, and everything's pretty laid back. They're getting ready to run the Roadrunner division now. We took a walk through the pits, and one thing we noticed was a lot of the trailers, they were open trailers, and or a flatbed truck with a car on the back. In some cases, they towed the car to the track without a trailer, because they have a couple of enduros races there where you take a street car and pretty much strip it down and bring it in. There's some of the six-cylinder mods. Sometimes it's hard to tell which what's the car that got towed and what's the car that towed. Just look for the number on the side, I guess. That looks like a pretty interesting division. I don't know if they race anywhere besides Hudson. If they got a lot of those cars, they'd put on a pretty good show. There's the rookie car that went off the track minus his door. You can see that on the other side of the car. He said he can fix that no problem. All he needs is to pop a couple of rivets in it and a can of white spray paint.
Oh yeah, a few rivets.
A few rivets. Be better than new. Reminds me of the car on Trailer Park Boys. Minus a door. But everyone's having a good time, and they're getting some fun in and some racing. It was pretty interesting. That there, I believe, is a classic light car. I think it has a 600cc motorcycle engine in it. And those race around Star, Lee, different tracks. They put on a real good show. I don't know if I'd want to be in one of those at the speeds they go. That's the third place car, Chad Wendell, heading out. These are the Roadrunners, which we filmed from the pit exit, or pit entrance from the track. Had to be careful there. Wanted to stick the camera out, but you didn't know if a car was going to come flying into you or not. There's a young man, Jared Susi, who won this race and put on quite a display of driving. I think that's the black car, the 42. And when it was all over, he gets out of his car, and I look, and it's this young kid. He didn't even look more than 14 to me, but boy, he can drive pretty good. That's the thing with some of these young kids. They've been driving since they were 6, 7 years old. So, although they're 14, they've been racing for 7 years. So they're doing pretty good. Look at them on the outside there, just hanging there and not falling back. It's pretty tough to pass on the outside with any car. But he just did it. It's Billy Osborne in the 55 going on the inside for second. Billy's a former super modified driver from Lee, small block super driver. There's Jared right there.
Bob Weber, all the fans that came out, Dave, Billy, he helped me out.
Thank you, Jared.
Caitlin, all of them. All the fans.
Be a fan.
Round of applause, Jared Susie, first place.
Nice job, Jared.
Good job, buddy.
A 42.
Was it pushing?
Yeah.
Bad.
And the 55 of Billy Osborne.
He was hanging on the outside.
Just happened a couple laps ago. No.
And the 61 of Jennifer Lord. Young lady did quite a good job. And then they had the one-on-one spectator drags where they go around 2 laps and they'd pair off a couple of cars at a time, and the winner would go on to race the next one. Thought this was pretty interesting. This is the second round.
Outside Steve on the inside.
It was pretty close here.
Maybe the Intera will win it.
Then sell it.
So they did this. These are the two finalists, and they decided to go backwards, make right-hand turns, and I think they wanted to make this 5 laps. There's that black car just out-muscling everybody. I think the second place car got a little discouraged here. After the first lap, he's almost a half a lap behind.
That's Buggy's motor right there. Yeah, that's my motor. When you rebuilt that motor from scratch. That's why it didn't go good.
I think someone said it was stuck in first gear.
Ed was just cruising. This time the guy got lost.
Now you give up.
He's got hockey power. Oh, even that
Nope. Doing a Joey Chitwood. Is the door going to pop open and he jumps out, or nope? Keeps going. Shortcut. Can't beat him the right way. We'll beat him some other way.
Yeah. What'd you get? Like 6?
Now he's going to go left. What's this? Oh, a Dukes of Hazzard. Awesome. All we need is a Confederate flag on the roof. Oh, no, he's winning. No, he just got passed again. You know, some days you're the dog and some days you're the fire hydrant. And I guess he's the fire hydrant today. Pits and drive down 102 and go home. And not even tell his wife that he raced there. I think the last time I was at Hudson and they had a spectator race, we were down on the infield doing a push truck thing, and at the end of the race there was a lot of slamming and banging going around. They had about 10 cars out there at once, and the guy wrecked his family wagon, so he's at the start-finish line after the race, and water's pouring out the radiator, and his wife comes down from the stands dragging 2 or 3 little kids with snots running down their nose, and she's like, "Okay, blankety blank, what are we going to do now?" The poor guy's standing there. I never felt so sorry for anyone in my life as I did for that guy. But you know, you bring it on yourself. So that was the action at Hudson. It's pretty interesting. Next week, we are going to go to Hudson Speedway on Sunday, June 2nd. They have an open wheel extravaganza. They're going to have the modifieds. I don't know if it's a Valente or SKs or whatever, but it's going to be a great show. There'll be about 30 of those. I think they're going to have the Pro 4 modifieds, which are 4-cylinder mods. They have the NEMA, Northeast Midget Association, will be bringing both of their divisions, the NEMA full-size engines and the NEMA light cars, which we saw at Star last week. We expect about 18 cars for NEMA and about maybe 20 for NEMA lights. So it should be quite a show. That's next Sunday afternoon at Seekonk, and Seekonk is about 1/3 of a mile. It's a little bit less than Lee, but bigger than Star. They call it the Cement Palace because all the stands, it's not wooden stands, they're all cement like steps, and I guess Tony Vendetti, I believe, owned it for a long time, his family, and I don't know if he owned a cement company or what, but everything in there is cement, so it's a nice place. It's very professional, and they put on quite a show. So we'll be taking that in. We'll be racing a NEMA light car, so we'll see what happens there. But we really like to see the modifieds. We're going to take a tour through the pits. We're going to film some of the action, maybe a little bit of the victory lane. But we want to show you some of the action there, because from Star you can see it from Dave McGuire tapes all the races at Star and at Hudson and posts them on. So you can see that. And we try to show something different, like the victory lane interviews. But here we'll pack in a lot of action in 25 minutes of taping. Maybe I'll tape a lot more, and we'll see if it rains the next weekend. We'll be able to show you the rest of that. So we'll show you all the highlights anyway from Seekonk. And that's going to be a pretty great show. So things are heating up now. Speaking of that, it's going to be 90 degrees this weekend, where last Saturday it was 42 for a high. And there's going to be a lot of racing coming up somewhere. We're still planning on going up to Bear Ridge to do the Scone. They're looking at going back there, I believe, in July, although they might be racing at other tracks. So we do want to take in some of the dirt action, either at Canaan, Bear Ridge, or Groveton, whatever. So we'll follow them. There's also the Dirt Midget Association, DMA. That's like NEMA Lights, but they race on dirt. So we're gonna follow some of that. We want to try to show you a different track every week, hopefully. And Londonderry Speedway hopefully will be opening up soon. We'll see what they have going on there. And then we'll take another ride down to Waterford at some point. We'll go to Monadnock Speedway, which is near Winchester, Keene area. And that's a lot like Seekonk. We'll take you there and get you acquainted with a lot of the New England tracks around here. So hope you join us next week. And we'll be at Seekonk this weekend. And hopefully maybe we'll see you there. If you can't make it, watch the show and get all the highlights. So thanks for joining us this week.